Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to another episode of Ask Huda during the blessed month of Ramadan. This is a pre-recorded episode because mashallah we do have plenty of questions, so I'll try to tackle them inshallah during this episode. May Allah the Almighty guide us what is best, teach us what we don't know, and help us to act upon what we have learned. Ameen. The first question is from brother Khan Jamil. He says, if a wife has got more than the nisab level, but the husband is not allowing her to pay the zakah, nor the husband himself has paid the zakah for decades, what should the wife do? Will she not be held accountable for not paying the zakah? I say, and Allah knows best, as zakah is mandatory, and it is one of the pillars of Islam. And Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, may Allah be pleased with him, waged a war against those who denied paying zakah after the death of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And these wars were known as Hurub al-Riddah, the wars of apostasy, against those who refused to pay zakah. So it is mandated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is not permissible to withhold it. There is a severe punishment and severe consequences have been mentioned in the Quran and in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, that those who do not pay zakah on their wealth, whether gold or silver, it will be made on the Day of Judgment into blades of fire to brand their sides, their faces, and their foreheads. يوم يحمى عليها في نار جهنم فتكوى بها جباههم وجنوبهم وظهورهم هذا ما كنزتم لأنفسكم فذوقوا ما كنتم تكنزون. This is what you harbored and treasured and saved for yourselves. So taste what you have saved for yourselves. It is not something to be taken light or easily. Rather, every Muslim must pay their zakah due once they possess the nisab, and they maintain it for a whole lunar year, and once it is due, it must be paid. So if the wife possesses a nisab of wealth or possessions or investment, and the husband does not allow her to pay her zakah, she must not obey him, even if it reaches to divorce, because this person is challenging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In addition to, we normally say that the woman has a full possession and full responsibility over her wealth. So the husband does not have the right to tell or force his wife to spend or not to spend her wealth. Only the opposite. If she was not paying her zakah, he should actually ask her to pay the zakah. But this is her possession. So if she wants to donate it all, it's hers. If she wants to give a part of it in a charity, that is hers, including the dowry which she collected from him, because now she has a full possession over her wealth. So he does not have any right to prevent her from paying the zakah. If she complies with him, she too is committing a major sin, and she is at a big risk of not paying the zakah, as we discussed in the beginning, that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq treated those who do not pay zakah and refused to pay it, and they denied it, as apostates. The second question is Sister Isatu Tal. She says, why is it very much difficult for a man to be faithful between his wives or among his wives? Perhaps this is your personal experience, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the man who will take a second wife to treat them fairly. And he said, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا فَوَاحِدَةً أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ. If you assume from the beginning that you will not be fair in treating them, you will not be treating them equally, then one is enough, lest you may fall into an oppression, and it also has severe consequences on the Day of Judgment. But there is a difference between the treatment and the emotion. Obviously, if somebody has more than one wife, and one of them is younger, prettier, or she's kinder to him, and she is obedient, she makes his life happy, while the other one is the opposite, what happens? He would love the one who would make him happy more. But when it comes to treating both, he must treat them equally and be just in dealing with them. Because the emotion, the love, is something that you cannot control. The same thing when you have several children. You find your heart is going for the one who is sick until he recovers, the youngest until he grows up, or the one who is in another country or traveling abroad, because you miss him. This is called عاطفة. This love as a result of emotion, you cannot control it. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that he does his best to treat his wives equally, but when it comes to the love and the emotion, that's not controlled by any human being. It's controlled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I advise, and I believe the sister is from Nigeria, because many Nigerian brothers do have more than one wife, that if you are planning to take this step, you have to understand that it comes with requirements. It comes with duties, that you have to be fair, you have to be able to afford to maintain two independent houses and treat them equally. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to what is best. Brother Usama from Usama Marok. Usama says, I travel to school every day at a distance of 90 kilometers. So I combine my prayers, but sometimes I'm early at home. Asr prayer is only 30 to 40 minutes away. What do I do? Combine or pray it? If you mean that the Asr prayer is has only 30 minutes till sunset, or there is only 30 minutes or 40 minutes left till sunset, and there is a risk that you may not be able to pray Asr on time, if there is a delay, if there is a traffic jam, or if there is an accident, that's perfectly fine for you to combine Dhuhr and Asr together at the time of Dhuhr at a school or in the city which you travel to. A traveler who combines and shortens the prayer is allowed to combine the prayer which he may attend in his locality if he arrived early. And in this case, he doesn't have to make it up, especially in your case that there is a risk that you may not get to attend the Asr prayer on time if you get stuck in the bus for a reason or another. So in this case, you can just pray Asr along with Dhuhr, 2 rak'ahs each, and you don't have to make it up when you return home. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all our prayers. Sister Rahma Abdus Salam says in her question, if a man makes ablution wearing clothes that is not covering the knees, is the ablution valid? What if one makes ablution naked in one's private bathroom, then come out and wear clothes right after? Well, the two questions, of course, are relating to each other. Can a person perform wudu while he or she are not wearing clothes at all, or wearing clothes revealing some parts of the awrah? Yes, it is permissible. Covering the awrah is only before people who should be, you should cover your awrah before. Other than your husband, no one should see from you the major awrah. And there is awrah only before the non-mahram, like the whole body of a woman before a non-mahram is awrah. And before the mahram, She's allowed to show the hair, she's allowed to show the head, the neck, and the arms, and up to the knees. Okay? And there is also awrah for a woman before another woman. That's from the navel to the knees. But if she wants to perform wudu, like somebody is taking a bath, taking a shower, performing ghusl, of course we do that in the nude. Can I perform wudu meanwhile? Of course. And the ghusl will be sufficient to provide tahara for the minor and the major impurities, so that the wudu will be effective and valid as well. But once you step out, if you happen to sit before somebody whom you should cover your awrah before, then the awrah must be covered. Barakallahu feekum. Isved Amti. Isved says, in his or her question, I'm not really familiar with the name, so pardon me. Is it haram to pray after an imam for whom many people say that he has been performing sihr? And he also once threatened the people he wanted to replace him from his position with doing sihr to them. Since we have only one masjid in our place, is it preferable to pray salah at home or go to the masjid even though the suspicions are very serious? We need to do the following. نقطع الشك باليقين, to remove the doubt with certainty. So every masjid has either executive committee, board of trustees, elders, people who are in charge for the masjid, people who pay the imam his salary, his due salary. In this case, whenever the news have become widespread that this imam is involved in anything which is considered a violation to the Muslims' belief, that must be investigated. And people who propagated this or spread the rumor must be brought forth, and we sit with the imam to investigate. Have you ever been involved with doing sihr directly or indirectly? And what is your belief concerning magical spells, sihr, sorcery, and so on? If this is confirmed, the imam must be impeached immediately. And it is not permissible to pray behind such person, whether in the masjid or otherwise, because those who are involved in sihr are not Muslims. وَمَا يُعَلِّمَانِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ حَتَّى يَقُولَا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ فِتْنَةٌ فَلَا تَكْفُرْ. In Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, recounting what Harut and Marud, the two angels, said to people whom they tested by teaching sihr and telling them that this is evil and do not practice it. This is kufr. وَمَا يُعَلِّمَانِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ حَتَّى يَقُولَا. They would tell that person, sorcery is disbelief. Practicing sorcery is disbelief. فَلَا تَكْفُرْ. إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ فِتْنَةٌ. We're here just to test people. So do not be involved in disbelief via practicing sorcery. We do not simply rely on rumors in stating a judgment, because people say all sorts of things, and we don't want to fall in the same trap, because one day people will say things about you and about me. Before judging people, we have to realize whether this is true or false. And it is very easy. Who said that this imam is involved in sihr? And who said that this imam threatened to cast a magical spell on somebody? They should be brought forward, and we sit with the imam and we confront him with that. This is one thing. The second thing that we need to discuss, brothers and sisters, what is the definition of the term imam? Imam is a leader in righteousness, in piety, in religious knowledge, in religious practice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the ayah of Surah Al-Furqan, وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. The word imam initially was given to the leader of the Muslim community, who has also to be religiously committed and knowledgeable concerning the deen, such as in the case of Al-Khulafa Al-Rashidin, may Allah be pleased with them, and their successors, of course, of the rightly guided rulers of the Muslim Ummah throughout its history. Then also they lead the prayer. And النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم said in the hadith, إنما جعل الإمام ليؤتم به. Why the Imam was appointed as a leader? To be followed. So if the Imam is teaching wrongful practices and belief, then he is not an Imam. He's Imam in dalal. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith which is collected by Imam al-Tirmidhi, that what he fears most against our ummah, al-a'immatul mudillin, the misleading imams. So there will be leaders, but they will be misleading their people. We should avoid them. We should warn people against them. We should not just keep it to ourselves and say, well, they say this person does this and this and that. When an imam teaches wrong informations, it is as a result of one of two reasons. Either ignorance, and that will be a sign that precedes the Day of Judgment, or this imam is following his hawa. It happens that the person could be educated, but he's following his whim, seeking worldly benefits, seeking the pleasure of the rulers on account of displeasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those people should be exposed so that people would not be deceived and would not follow them. Also, whenever somebody who is known of being a mischievous person, but he happened to be in the leading position, gives people a fatwa, a wrongful fatwa, his fatwa should be dismissed. His opinion should be disregarded. Because the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, to people with good hearts, istafti qalbak. When a companion came to ask the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Wabisa ibn Ma'bad, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, you came to ask me about al-birr wal-ith, righteousness and sinning. He said, yes. He said, al-ithmu ma haka fi nafsika wa khashita an yattali'a alayhi an-nas. Sin is what you don't feel good about it in your heart, and you're afraid to do it in public because you know that it is bad, it is evil, then it's a sin. Even if people tell you it is okay, even if you find some misleading imams, and there are many of them nowadays, who may tell you it is halal. An imam who tells you it is halal to take interest from the bank because we live in a different time. We live in a different place. Another one would say it is halal to sell pork, beer, lotto tickets because you live in a non-Muslim country. Another imam would say, and you will find many false views. Our reference is firm, is stable, and it is not to be changed. The Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our righteous predecessors followed that and they were saved. And if we were to follow that strictly, we will be saved as well. Barakallahu fikum. Sister Amina Khadija Achi has two questions. The first question is, how can I say Bismillah to start my wudu inside the bathroom, since it is not allowed to say the name of Allah inside? Is it enough to say it on my mind, or do I need to say it aloud? I advise one of two things. One, which you suggested, to say it within yourself without moving your tongue. And the second is to step out, say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, then you return to perform wudu. That is an alternative solution. The second question is it allowed to write on your Islamic will that when both parents died and you don't have any Muslim family, relatives, you will entrust your children to your Muslim friend? And also, even if the case is that you have Muslim relatives but they are not practicing Islam, is it allowed for you to entrust your children to other Muslim family that is practicing when you die? Yes, that is all permissible. That is permissible. um, the following questions from Sister Najis Homsi. Her first question is, my brother has a severe case of a disease called Crohn's, and alhamdulillah he has been going through operations regularly. He bleeds and has bodily fluid that leaks from his body, and so he believes that he is not clean to pray. How to pray? First of all, if bleeding is from any of the orifices of answering the call of nature, the rear or the front orifice, the private parts, then that nullifies the wudu. And if it happens on regular basis and constantly, then the person will be eligible to perform wudu once he hears the adhan to offer the current prayer, even if the leaking is continuous. And also in this case, he will be permitted to combine the two prayers of Dhuhr and Asr together, and also the Maghrib and Isha together at the time of either one, because of the necessity, because of the medical condition that he is experiencing. He may enjoy this concession by cleaning up himself, performing wudu, then offering the prayer even if the leaking is continuous, whether it is blood, pus, urine, or even any waste. But if the bleeding is from other than these two orifices, then that bleeding does not nullify the wudu. If the person has a wound or several wounds and he is injured, the bleeding would not nullify the wudu, so he can pray in any condition. And his wudu is still valid if he did not do any of the acts which may violate wudu, such as answering the call of nature, passing wind, and so on, or falling asleep in deep sleep. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him shifa and all the sick Muslims. Her second question is, we have watched one of your episodes and heard that you speak about toys for children and how they look realistic. I have twin daughters, the age of 1, mashallah, and we have many toys for them. I would like to clarify that. An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam allowed Aisha to play with toys, some of which look like horses with wings, and she used to make them of wool, of mud. That is permissible. But I say the objection is in purchasing and possessing toys which are so realistic that you find the toy or the doll is like a real baby. Okay? So if it is missing an eye or a limb, then it would not be real. That is permissible. And I'm transmitting the fatwa of the scholars, of course, His Eminence Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen and Sheikh Abu Ishaq al-Huwaini and others. May Allah have mercy on those who died and bless and preserve those who are still alive. Also, these toys are only for babies. Once babies grow up, now we need to get rid of them or give them to other babies. Not like what some girls do, that they are grown up, teenagers and at marriageable age, and they keep the teddy bears and those statues in the rooms like toys. Well, you're not eligible anymore. Those toys of huge animals or look like real animals would definitely prevent the angels from entering the house, because the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said so. The angels do not enter a house in which there is a statue. We'll take a short break, and inshallah after the short break I will answer your third question, and we'll resume with the rest of the emails, inshallah. Please stay tuned.
For them happiness let us all bring. Ramadan, from reading
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us in the Quran saying, وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عرضها السماوات والأرض أعدت للمتقين. Hasten to the forgiveness of your Lord and to paradise, the width of which is the heavens and the earth, prepared for the righteous and pious. Brothers and sisters in Islam, especially in the month of Ramadan, the Prophet ﷺ tells us that when the first night of the month of Ramadan is here, the devils are chained, and a caller will call upon you, O seekers of goodness, come forth. Ya baghi al-khayr, aqbil. Hasten to goodness is our show in Ramadan. Join me, Kareem Abu Zaid, every night in the month of Ramadan and learn how can we hasten to goodness.
And sadaqah to the ones who are in great need, helping them to build their lives again. For them happiness let us all bring. Ramadan, Ramadan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. Sister Narjis Homsi has a third question, which is regarding reading books. Most of them are stories of fiction and magic and knights and kingdoms and the likes. So there is kufr, shirk in all of them, as they are about magic and kingdoms that believe in gods. Should I get rid of them? If so, how to do that? Yes, you should get rid of them, of course. Burn them, shred them, throw them in the trash. Make sure that they will not be read by somebody else. Why? Because, when your children at any age hear such stories, they are engraved in their minds. Any story that I share with my kids, it is so much engraved that they can quote it back even a year or 2 years later, even though I narrated it once. When you read a book and they get so consumed or sucked in enjoying the story, which is fiction, we said that the fiction stories are permissible if they instill good qualities, manners, they direct the person to be kind, to be gentle, to be caring of others. And of course, there are tons of books like that, and this is what we share with our kids, including the stories of the Israelites, as long as they do not contain any violation. But if they do, they should be thrown in the trash. You should get rid of them as soon as possible. And you should not pass them on to somebody else, because الدال على الخير كفاعله. One who guides to goodness shall get a similar reward, and one who guides to evil shall get a similar punishment of the person who does it, because he did so because of you. You happen to be one of the means. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us. I found, brothers and sisters, in the stories of the prophets before Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, enough for us to share with our children, whether bedtime stories or once every couple of days when we gather the kids at home or at schools. Then the stories of the biography of the Prophet ﷺ, you can simplify them according to the age. And also the stories of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, and also many of the stories of the Israelites. And there are many ahadith which narrate stories in order to instill a meaning. The man who murdered 100 people, the man who gave water to the stray dog, the one who heard a cloud being ordered by a sound in the heaven saying, "Isqa hadiqata fulan," irrigate the garden of such and such person. These are magnificent stories which instill good manners and beautiful qualities in the audience, whether kids, teenagers, or adults. Barakallahu fikum. Brother Umar Mujahid, in the 12th question today, said, if I go to the toilet and I pass urine while sitting, and I often leak in my pants, even though I think I have finished, and while I'm praying as well. Do I have to be washing my underclothes whenever I urinate? Because immediately I stand up and I leak in my underclothes. Okay. This condition is medically known as urine incontinence because it is continuous. It is not something that happens occasionally, like some people suffer from that during winter because of the cold weather. Or some people suffer from that only after urination, so a drop would leak. In this case, the person must sit down and make sure that he leak this drop, and that's it. And of course, wash your private, then perform your wudu and offer the prayer. But the case we have, according to Brother Umar, is a urine incontinence. It is continuous. He does not have control over the sphincter which controls urination. So he simply can drop urine at any time. While praying, while walking, something continuous. This condition in fiqh is known as salasul bawl, which gives the person who is diagnosed with this medical condition, it gives him the concession to do the following. And look at the ease that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us. ما يريد الله ليجعل عليكم في الدين من حرج. Allah does not want to burden you on account of your religion. يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر. Allah wants to make things easy for you, does not want to make it hard and difficult for you. In this condition, the person would simply wait until it is the adhan time, or once the prayer time has entered. Then you perform wudu. And then pray. Of course, you wash your private. You wear a pad in your underclothes or a few tissues or napkins to collect the urine drops, in case that you drop them. Then you make wudu and you offer the prayer. Even if you feel yourself leaking the urine drops within the prayer is still valid. And this wudu will be valid for this fard prayer, along with the relating nawafil, such as the sunan before and the sunan after. 4 rak'ahs before dhuhr, 2 after dhuhr. All of that you pray and you feel yourself still leaking urine, the prayer is valid. Similarly, al-istihada, the regular bleeding for women which is not the menses. And similarly, the person who has a problem with the defecation process. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us ease. Alhamdulillah wa shukrillah. Barakallahu fikum. The 13th question is from Sister Hafsat Saliho. Sister Hafsat said, my mom rejected a sister that my brother wanted to marry without any reason. He met her parents and he was accepted. What should he do, because my mom has refused to listen to anyone? All she says that she does not want it. Okay, number one, for the validity of a nikah or the marriage contract, it is required the following conditions to be fulfilled. Besides al-ijab wal-qabul and al-shuhud, the witnesses, and the consent of the wali for the girl, not for the boy. So if a man got married without his parents' consent, marriage is valid. If a girl got married without her guardian's consent, marriage is invalid. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ said. So if this person got married and her, his future wife, her guardian is okay with that, the marriage is valid. But we have a serious problem, which is, how would you reconcile between your wife and her rights and your mother and being dutiful to her and keeping her rights? It is very problematic. And it would not just be over once you get married. Rather, the actual dilemma would start once you get married. That's why my advice simply is, Do your best to convince your mother. Sit with her in a very nice gathering, quietly, and hear from her. What are your objections? They may be valid. And consult other family members who have a say on her. Maybe she is right and she has a point and she knows things that you do not know. We do not always assume that, okay, go ahead and get married because her consent is not required. Marriage, brothers and sisters, is joining two families, not just two individuals. Not just two individuals. In the future, inshallah, you would have children. They will be her grandchildren. How is she going to treat them or see them that if she still talks to you and visits with you and so on? Of course, that happened in many occasions, and sometimes the parents are very stubborn. Some parents do not have a valid point. She just likes to be in control. Like she owns that grown-up man, she believes that he is still a child, and you only do as I say. And that is not exactly right, brothers and sisters. Now I'm addressing the parents. You have to be understanding. You have to be kind. You have to have wisdom. And I'm not here to teach you, but rather I'm here to remind you, brothers and sisters, that enjoy the authority, the tools, and the wisdom which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you in order to make your kids' life easier and happier. What would you benefit when you make his life miserable? And if you see that he is so much attached to the girl and her family are okay, and she is a righteous girl, and he still gets married without your consent. Many parents did so, and they were so stubborn. But they were tortured. They did not attend their kids' marriage, and they did not visit them for several years, and eventually, by the end, they yield, because they wanted to see their grandchildren, and they regret it. If you have somebody in mind, for instance, you want to give him your niece in marriage, and he does not want her, he does not like her as a wife, he likes her as a cousin, but he doesn't like to have as a life mate. We should not force our children to marry because we think this is a good proposal, whether with regards to future business or maintaining the family ties and all of that. We should rather make things easy for them. And the mother-in-law business. Every person, every mother should understand that your daughter-in-law is not a competitor with you. She is like your daughter exactly. And also the daughter-in-law, she should understand that if it was not this woman who's my mother-in-law, she's actually my mother as well. If it was not her, it was not for her, I wouldn't have my lovely husband. She bore him, she gave birth to him, she breastfed him, she raised him, she educated him, and she gave him to me on a gold tray. So I have to appreciate all of that. And also keep in mind that you are a wife today, you are a mother tomorrow, and in a few years you will be a mother-in-law. So how would you like to be treated whenever you become a mother-in-law? Barakallahu fikum. May Allah guide us to what is best. The final advice is make sure that you do not marry without making your wife, making your mother happy, making your parents happy, even though their consent is not required for the validity of this marriage. We have a question from a sister, did not mention her name. She said, I'm married with 3-year-old kids. My husband from the beginning has never shown any interest in having physical relations with me, and neither does he love me. I'm bringing up my kids all alone. He just supports us financially, and he has no other contribution to our lives. He is not willing to seek any help to treat his sexual problems. I can divorce him as me and my kids have nowhere to go. Will I be sinning if I hate him and I have no love or respect for him and stay with him just for my kids' sake? Subhanallah, even though this is an email from an anonymous sister, but I recently was invited to attend family marriage counseling, exactly the same case with a couple kids. Initially, I blamed the wife and I said that how could you say that while you have kids, that he is sexually capable to impregnate you and you were able to conceive. And she said that ever since we don't have any relationship and I am a woman of needs. And I realized that many of us as men, when we talk about our needs, the sexual needs, we are being very selfish because we don't think about the other party. It's like, women are not supposed to think about it. And that's why we allow ourselves, because it is allowed, to take a second wife and so on. Then neglect the rights of perhaps the first wife, or sometimes both, and look for a third one. You have to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ فَاحْذَرُوهُ. Allah knows what is in your heart, so be careful. Beware of Allah and His punishment. You happen to be a guardian. Now, we don't know the sister's name, we don't know the husband's name, but I'm talking very specifically because I attended an exact similar case that she does have rights. She does have rights, and those rights have to be fulfilled. So either you go and check on a treatment, and it is available, alhamdulillah wa shukrullah, even if you're not interested, but simply to fulfill her rights, lest she may go astray. Now, as far as your question, which is hating him, if you say, I can't like him, I would say, I can't blame you. I don't blame you, and no one have any right to force you to love or like any person, including your husband. And living with him for the sake of your child, no problem. That is permissible. But you chose to live in this condition. Hopefully, inshallah, this message would reach the brother and understand how much his wife is suffering. And it may not be only one case. This is a general advice that in fiqh, that the woman in Islam, Islamic Sharia, may present her case before the judge that her husband is not satisfying her sexual desire, is not giving her her rights. And you all know and remember the story of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. When he heard a complaint from a woman, Umar ibn al-Khattab used to patrol the city by himself at night while people are asleep. And he heard the woman was complaining to Allah that how much she is missing her husband, and out of fear of Allah, she does not allow anyone in her bed but her husband, and so on. So right away, Umar ibn Khattab consulted his daughter, Hafsa, who was the Prophet's wife, may Allah be pleased with her, as how much would a woman bear the absence of her husband. When she said 4 months, he ordered to all the commanders of the Muslims army that no one should be away, no soldier nor officer should be away from his wife for more than that. Why? Because when we discuss a public matter, a family matter, we have to consider all the different parties, their rights, their needs, not only one party on account of another. I believe that would be the last question. Amadu Kibi. Amadu says, is it haram to sell clothes with brands as Polo, Puma, and Jordan? I shouldn't have said the names, but I did. قدر الله ما شاء فعل. Yes, it is permissible, no problem. Unless if we have a solid proof that this company or that company, for innocence, funds the enemies of Islam, or those who target civilians or kill innocent people. As you know what is going on in Gaza Strip right now, and you have seen the horrible images of our children. Well, those kids are mine, my children and your children. We are one single united ummah. Those kids who were brutally killed, those skulls which were blown up, and bodies which were mutilated are our own children, belong to the whole ummah, and we are responsible before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we know for sure that anyone is assisting them, it must be boycott, not optional. It must be, we must boycott those who support financially those criminals. This is one of the means of assisting our brothers and sisters, our Muslim community. By that, brothers and sisters, we come to the end of this episode of Ask Huda, and while we're approaching the end of Ramadan, in the remaining couple days, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us all, accept our fasting, our night prayer, our dua and supplication, and free us from the fire of hell, make us from the utaqa, which He frees from hell on the blessed month of Ramadan. Allahumma ameen. And also we pray for the Muslim Ummah to be supported, to be granted victory. Muslims in Myanmar, Muslims in Philippines, Muslims in Pakistan, Ahlul Sunnah in Iraq, in Asham, in Gaza, in Egypt, and everywhere. Allahumma ansur al-Islam wa a'izz al-Muslimin wa akhdhul al-shirka wal-mushrikeen. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech.